Okay, so imagine you're living in Berlin in 1900 and your neighbor knocks on your door and goes, "Hey, you gotta come see this. My horse can do math." And you'd be like, "Sure he can, Wilhelm." But then you go, and the horse does math. This is the true story of clever Hans, and I promise you, it gets so much weirder than a horse doing arithmetic. Wilhelm von Osten was a retired schoolteacher, which already tells you everything about this man, who became absolutely convinced that his horse Hans was capable of human-level thinking. So he did what any totally normal person would do. He built the horse a little classroom, taught him numbers, letters, music, fractions. And Hans delivered. You'd hold up a card that said, "What is 4 plus 3? Hans would tap his hoof 7 times and just stare at you, like, "Yeah, I did that. What else you got?" Word spread fast. Crowds showed up. Journalists lost their minds. Scientists came from across Europe to debunk this horse and left going. A formal committee, actual academics, investigated Hans and officially declared they could find no evidence of trickery. Germany had a genius horse and they were very proud of him. Von Osten never charged admission, by the way. He genuinely believed in his horse. This wasn't a con. This was a man who just really, truly, with his whole heart, thought his horse understood fractions. Then along comes a psychologist named Oscar Pfungst. And Oscar does something so simple it's almost embarrassing. He blindfolds the person asking the question. Hans tanks it. Completely. Then Oscar tries making sure nobody in the room knows the answer ahead of time. Hans tanks it again. Here's what was actually happening, and this is the part that blew everyone's minds. Hans wasn't doing math. Hans was reading people. Every time someone asked him a question, they'd unconsciously tense up, lean forward ever so slightly, hold their breath, and the moment Hans hit the right number of taps, they'd relax. A tiny exhale, a micro-movement, something they didn't even know they were doing. And Hans had figured out, that's my signal. That's when I stop. Now here's the thing. People heard this and felt embarrassed, like Hans had made fools of them. But think about what this horse actually did. He studied human behavior so precisely, so patiently, that he could detect movements invisible to the naked eye. Movements we didn't know we were making. Hans couldn't do math, but he understood people better than most people understand people. And that discovery? It changed science permanently. Researchers now call it the clever Hans effect, and it's the reason we blind test everything in animal studies to this day. Subscribe. I've got more stories like this, and honestly, they just keep getting weirder.